My name is Catherine, and I'm 35 years old. I'm just an ordinary working wife. My husband, Bob, who is the same age as me, is currently living away for work. One day, I discovered a shocking truth. Bob has been having an affair while away for work. And to make things worse, it seems he even has a child with his mistress. When I confronted him over the phone, this is what he said.
What? Who do you think you are, complaining to your husband? If you don't want me to cheat, then make an effort. I'm working my butt off here every day. And what about you? You keep calling me about pointless things every day, bothering me. Compared to you, Emma's the perfect woman. Anyone would choose her over you, especially since she's wealthy. And she's from a well-off family. You and she aren't even on the same level.
Then I heard his mistress, who was apparently beside him, mock me as well.
Are you Bob's wife, Catherine? Aren't you just an old lady who can't even have kids? How pathetic to blame Bob when he's exhausted from work. You get it, right? You're not needed anymore. Stop clinging to your title as his wife. But then again, without Bob, you can't even survive, can you? Your earnings are laughable. I'll send you some money, so hurry up and sign the divorce papers. I'll send them over, got it?
These two are seriously mocking me. I'm not the type to back down after being humiliated like this. No, I won't divorce him. Be prepared for my full revenge. I said in a voice so cold it surprised even me. As I gripped my phone, I exchanged a glance with the person sitting next to me.
Understood. I will handle it accordingly.
What?
Bob and his mistress both spoke at the same time over the phone, but I hung up without saying anything more. They probably think my talk of revenge is just me bluffing. Let them underestimate me all they want. My revenge has already begun. Now, let's go back in time a bit. That day, I was at home, relaxing by myself. Bob and I have been married for 6 years, but he's spent about half of that time away on business trips or living away for work. I knew his job involved a lot of travel, and I thought I had accepted that when we got married. Luckily, his parents live nearby, so I would sometimes visit them or they would come over. His parents are kind and would often express disbelief that Bob leaves his wife alone so much, sometimes even getting angry at him for it. I suppose you could call it neglect. We used to exchange messages at least once a day, but then it became once every 3 days, then once a week, once every 2 weeks, and finally, once a month. Bob was clearly annoyed with our interactions. I asked him to at least read my messages since it worried me when he left them unread. He did start reading them, but that was it. With so much time apart, I tried to convince myself it was only natural that his feelings might drift away. Then, out of the blue, a piece of shocking news reached me during those days.
Catherine, it's been a while. Have you got a time to talk now?
Nancy, it's been so long. Sure, but what's up? It was Nancy, a friend I hadn't heard from in a while, who called me. Nancy and I were close because we lived in the same neighborhood when we were kids. She often looked after me and played with me. Nancy, who's 7 years older than me, was really smart and would always help me with my studies. Although we had kept in touch regularly, it was only through messaging apps. It had been a long time since I last heard her voice over the phone.
Hey, can I come over right now?
What? Come over? To my place?
Yeah, I'm nearby. and I have something I want to talk about in person.
That's fine. I'll be waiting. What's this about all of a sudden? Puzzled, I began preparing to welcome her. Soon after, Nancy arrived, but what she said was a complete shock.
Bob is having an affair.
What? I was frozen by the unexpected remark.
I saw Bob near my workplace. I hadn't seen his face since the wedding. He was walking with a woman, and she was carrying a child. When I listened more closely, it seemed like they were a married couple. And from what I could tell, the child seems to be Bob's with that woman.
No way.
From an outsider's perspective, they looked like a happy, loving family. But Catherine, you're still married to Bob, right?
Yes, but I can't believe this. I was utterly confused. Bob having an affair. But somewhere in the back of my mind, a part of me thought maybe it couldn't be helped.
Don't dismiss it like that. This is a clear act of betrayal.
Nancy said firmly. I knew she was right. No matter the situation, Bob and I were still married. I couldn't and shouldn't forgive this. Instinctively, I grabbed my phone and tapped Bob's name. The ringing seemed to go on forever.
What is it? Didn't I tell you not to call me unless it's an emergency?
The moment I heard Bob's angry voice shouting at me, I felt a coldness settle inside. Yeah, this is an emergency. You're cheating, aren't you?
What are you even talking about all of a sudden?
Someone saw you with a woman and a child. They said you looked just like a real family.
What? You're just jumping to conclusions based on that. That's ridiculous. And who exactly saw me? You're just making stuff up.
That's not all. We have photographic evidence, too. Nancy had taken pictures of Bob, the woman, and the child together.
This is absurd. What evidence? You're talking nonsense.
The only one talking nonsense here is you. Just admit it. You are cheating, aren't you? I spoke in a firm, decisive tone. It was the strongest tone I had ever used. Bob hesitated, caught off guard for a moment, but quickly became defiant.
Yeah, fine. I'm cheating. So what?
So what? Are you serious?
Shut up. Who do you think you are, complaining to your husband?
Then came a flood of insults. His mistress, Emma, who was apparently next to him, joined in, and the situation quickly escalated into chaos. But this was only the beginning. I will get my revenge, completely and utterly. As I declared that, I exchanged a knowing glance with Nancy. She nodded, her expression professional. I hung up the phone and took a deep breath. Sorry, Nancy, will you help me?
Of course, I was going to help you anyway. I can't stand to see my sweet Catherine hurt by such a jerk.
Nancy gave me a thumbs up. And so, our plan for revenge was set into motion. First, I started gathering concrete evidence of the affair. Luckily, they weren't the type to change their behavior just because their infidelity was exposed, so I was able to collect plenty of incriminating photos. It was clear they were completely underestimating me. My anger toward them kept growing. About a month later, Bob contacted me.
I'm bringing Emma with me this Sunday. You'd better have your things packed by then.
Yeah, make sure everything's cleaned up nicely for us.
Their arrogance was still infuriating. In fact, Ever since I found out about the affair, several divorce papers, already filled out, had been sent to my house. It seemed Emma was serious about her threats. Since I haven't responded at all, they're probably planning to come back and talk to me directly. Fine, I'd confront them that day as well. And so, Sunday arrived. The moment Bob and Emma saw me waiting quietly at the door, they started hurling complaints.
It's good to be back in my house, though it looks like there's still an unwanted guest around.
No way, she's really still here. How shameless can you get? Or are you just trying to get sympathy?
Well, it's pretty pathetic, honestly. You can survive without my generosity. It's a waste to spend money on someone like you, which is why I haven't put much into our joint account for the past few months.
Besides, it's way more meaningful to spend money on us. Oh, speaking of money, here you go.
Emma dumped the contents of the paper bag she was holding onto the floor. Bundles of cash, still wrapped in bands, tumbled onto the floor one after another. She sneered, her lips twisted in a smug grin.
Go ahead, pick them up. Then once you're done, get out of here. I mean, you've already packed, right? Since you were waiting at the door. Besides, we brought the divorce papers, since you've been ignoring them. Why don't you crawl around and pick up the money, and while you're at it, sign the divorce papers, too? We'll stand here and watch, looking down on you the whole time.
Emma laughed obnoxiously. I couldn't believe this woman was supposedly from a good family. Her behavior was beyond vulgar and immature. According to my investigation, she was 30 years old. While she might look youthful, her character was rotten to the core.
You're right. Now move aside. We can't get into our house with you in the way.
Bob shoved me aside and barged into the house. Wait, where's the child? Did they just leave them behind? As I thought this, I heard shocked gasps coming from Bob and Emma in the living room.
What the hell is this? There's nothing here. Where's the furniture? Where are the sofa and the TV?
What? It's completely empty. It's like someone's about to move out.
Both of them glared at me as they stepped into the living room. But I acted as if nothing was wrong.
Hey, Catherine. What is this? You did this, didn't you?
Well, as you told me, I packed everything and cleaned up the house. Doesn't it look much nicer now?
What are you talking about? You were supposed to pack your stuff. You're the one who's leaving. So why did you touch my things too?
Oh my, is that what you meant? You should have been clearer. I accidentally ended up cleaning and packing the whole house. They both looked furious, veins bulging on their foreheads.
Are you doing this to spite us? Throwing out our stuff? We should sue you.
Oh, I didn't throw anything away. Don't worry, your belongings and the furniture from the house have been stored safely with a trusted service. They still seemed usable.
What?
But more importantly, your main request is for me to divorce you, right? When I said that, they suddenly became very confident.
Yeah, exactly. You get it, don't you? Now just sign the divorce papers already.
That's right. Stop dragging this out with your pointless stints and just divorce Bob. You old hag, don't you realize that with my family's power, we can do whatever we want to you? You should be grateful we haven't crushed you yet.
When you say your family's power, you mean your parents' power, right?
That's right. My family is powerful. You know who we are? We're part of a conglomerate involved in various businesses, and we're rich. With my parents' influence, we could easily push you to the bottom.
I see. So you're relying on your parents' power, not your own. Seeing that her threats had no effect on me, Emma stomped her foot in frustration. Even in that gesture, her immaturity was evident.
What a disgusting attitude. I'm serious. My family is really powerful. You'll regret messing with us.
Yeah, who do you think you are, acting so smug? You're way out of line.
Is that so? And what exactly will happen to me?
Well, oh right, we have a lawyer, a corporate counsel. Isn't that amazing? I'll have them sue you for alimony.
That's a great idea. You emptied my house, and I'm devastated. You should pay for my emotional distress.
They started spouting ridiculous claims. Devastated? That's my line. I almost felt like crying at the sheer stupidity of these two and my own failure to see through Bob for so long. But I swallowed my tears and opened my mouth to speak. Does the lawyer you're talking about happen to look like this? With those words, the door to the next room opened. It was Nancy who appeared. In her hands, she was holding a smartphone and a laptop.
What are you doing here?
Do you know her, Emma?
Know her? That's our family's lawyer. My dad has a personal contract with her. I've met her before. There's no way I'd mistake her.
Yes, as Emma said, I am one of the lawyers contracted by her father.
Nancy looked at Bob and Emma and spoke confidently. That's right, Nancy is a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. She handles a wide variety of cases.
Why would such an important lawyer be with someone like Catherine?
Catherine and I have been friends since childhood. In fact, I was the one who first informed her about Bob's affair.
Nancy smiled warmly as she looked at Bob. The intensity of her smile left both of them speechless. They had probably never imagined that I was acquainted with a lawyer. Nancy began to speak calmly.
How many times have you caused problems like this? Your parents are really disappointed in you. From what I hear, you've been spending all your time at Bob's place, not even informing your family, right?
Well, I mean, if they found out, they'd get mad. My parents are scary.
Of course they are angry. You've given birth to a child whose father you can't even identify. That goes beyond concern.
What do you mean by that? That child is mine and Emma's, right? Isn't that true?
Of course. What are you talking about? That's definitely our child.
So you're admitting that you've been in an adulterous relationship for years. The child is about 2 years old, right? Meaning you've been betraying Catherine for quite a while.
What's your problem? So what if it's too late now? Just because you're a lawyer doesn't mean you can tear us apart. That's not going to happen.
At that moment, Nancy opened her laptop and turned the screen toward them. The screen lit up, showing an older man.
What? Why is Dad? How?
Emma, you're causing trouble for others again.
The man, whom Emma called Dad, had a furious expression on his face. This man was Emma's father, Walter, and Nancy's employer. Through the computer and phone, they had heard every word exchanged since the moment they entered the house. Behind Walter, I could see a woman holding a child. Could that be Emma's mother, Sabrina, and the child they claim as theirs?
How many times have you caused issues with men? You're old enough to know better, and you still refuse to get a proper job. Enough is enough. Stop relying on us all the time.
He's right. It's utterly shameful to have a daughter like you. How many times are you going to disgrace our family's name?
Dad, Mom.
And on top of that, you left your child behind, all for the sake of being alone with some man. Fine, then don't bother coming home. We'll raise this child ourselves. You can stay with that man for all we care.
That's right. It's perfect. You can live however you want, and we can finally rid ourselves of the family's disgrace that you become.
What? No, don't say that. I just forgot about the child for a moment. That's all.
Forgot? How dare you say that about your own child? If Nancy hadn't let us know this time, you would have gone back to our home pretending nothing happened while you continued to spoil that man. You are disowned.
Disowned. Wait, what are you saying? Dad, are you really going to abandon your daughter?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. You are no longer part of our family.
Don't ever use our family name again, as if you have any right to it. As of today, you are a stranger to us.
Disowned by her parents, Emma panicked. And Bob was just as shocked.
What? Emma disowned? Does that mean she's no longer a wealthy heiress, but just a regular person?
No, no way. That's impossible. My parents would never abandon me. They love me, right, Dad, Mom?
Oh, your parents. They left a little while ago. Well, they just ended the video call, actually.
The screen of the laptop Nancy was holding had already gone completely dark. The color drained from Emma's face. Seeing her expression, Bob subtly stepped back, putting some distance between them. How much were you relying on her family? Just because you're with her doesn't mean her family's wealth becomes yours.
What are you talking about? You set this whole thing up, didn't you? How dare you?
Sorry, but the revenge has only just begun. I wasn't afraid of these people who could only glare at me.
Now, back to the topic. Emma, you've been involved with multiple men, including Bob, haven't you, who's really the father of your child?
What?
Don't listen to her, Bob. She's making this all up.
Can you still say that after seeing this?
Nancy scattered a stack of photos across the floor. The images showed Emma arm in arm with various men, hugging and even publicly flirting. Bob's eyes widened as he took it all in.
What is this? Why?
Emma dropped to the floor, frantically trying to gather the photos, but the damage was already done. The images were burned into Bob's memory.
Emma, what's going on here? These are men you used to date, and you're not seeing them anymore, right? Just say clearly that it's only me now.
Of course. This is all a setup to bring us down.
It's not a setup. It's simply the truth. In fact, I spoke to one of the men. He said he met you through a dating app about 3 years ago. He also mentioned that over the years, you'd meet up for dates, take trips together, and enjoy a long-term relationship. According to him, you were generous with money, knew all the fancy hotels, and always had several men on standby. He said you were the perfect fun companion. He also mentioned a period where you suddenly stopped contacting him for a while. Were you pregnant with the child during that time?
What is this?
Bob's angry gaze shifted from me to Emma. Emma, her face pale, shook her head desperately.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. They're all lying.
But we have these photos. What's the truth? Emma, you told me that child was mine, didn't you?
I don't know. I thought he was. He even looks like you.
Emma was on the verge of tears. At that moment, Bob's phone rang. He looked at his phone with a scowl, his face momentarily showing panic before he tapped the screen. It seemed like he had just received a call.
Hello, yes, I can talk now. What? No, this doesn't have anything to do with my work, right? What? No way, I haven't even finished my assignment yet. Yes, I understand. I'm very sorry.
When Bob hung up the phone, he looked just as pale as Emma.
What's wrong?
Well, my boss just called. I don't know how, but he found out about the affair and scolded me, asking what kind of trouble I'm causing while I'm supposed to be working away from home.
Bob gripped his phone tightly, dazed, but soon turned his angry gaze toward Nancy and me.
It was you, wasn't it? You told my boss about the affair. Why would you do that?
I wouldn't do something as crude as telling. I simply hinted at the situation and let them make their own inquiries.
Nancy smiled elegantly. Bob's face flushed with rage. But seeing that made me feel oddly satisfied.
So, Catherine, how do you feel? Are you satisfied now?
Yes, I'd say so. It's quite refreshing. These two really are fools. I feel silly for worrying so much about it before. I pulled a signed divorce paper out of my pocket. This was the very document they had been sending me repeatedly, but this time with my signature. I'll grant you your wish and divorce you. However, I'll be expecting alimony from both of you.
What? After all this, we should be the ones getting alimony from you.
By the way, everything you two have said since entering this house has been recorded. I can increase the alimony for emotional abuse if necessary. So, I suggest you watch what you say, although it's a bit late for that.
What?
Even though the house may be empty, I've secretly installed cameras. All of Bob and Emma's unbearable insults have already been recorded.
I can't pay any alimony. My parents always gave me money, but I don't have any savings. Bob, you pay it for me.
What? Don't even think about relying on me just because you've been disowned. I've already spent a fortune on you. I never should have tried to show off. You were the one with the money, not me. If you're not an heiress anymore, then all the time and money I spent on you were a complete waste. Give it back.
What? You spent all that money because you loved me, didn't you? So you should be happy to pay my alimony too.
As the two of them continued to bicker, Nancy and I watched in silence, unimpressed. It doesn't look like this will be resolved here, but that's fine. If you're unsatisfied, we can always take it to court and settle things there.
Court, if it comes to that.
For now, I'll file the divorce papers. My revenge ends here. I don't want to stay married to you for one more second.
Wait, Catherine, I'm sorry.
I can hear you. By the way, about your things and the furniture, they're being kept at your parents' house. I'd recommend picking them up soon, though I wonder how you'll face them after what you've done. Ignoring Bob's apologies, I stepped over the bundles of cash left on the floor and walked out of the house with Nancy. The air outside was refreshingly clear. After that, our divorce was finalized. I demanded the full amount of alimony in one lump sum. When Bob realized that his affair had been exposed at his company, he feared the situation would escalate further. To avoid that, he borrowed money and paid the alimony all at once. As for Emma, her parents were informed of the situation through Nancy, and they apologized to me. Emma, now disowned, had to borrow money from her parents to pay her share of the alimony. It seems the two of them eventually broke up. Bob now works under a cloud of shame as rumors of his infidelity spread throughout the office. To repay his debts, he's even started taking on tough side jobs. As for Emma, I heard she started working at a nightclub, but her habit of getting involved with the wrong men hasn't changed. In fact, I've heard that she's now involved with another married man and is being sued by his wife. I hope they both suffer as much as they deserve. I've moved to a new home and started a fresh chapter in my life. Nancy and I have grown much closer, and we now frequently go out for meals and spend time together. Seeing my great friend help me through this ordeal, I've even started to take an interest in law. Life is just beginning,